I worked for an outfit called Dawn Installations back in 2003, 2004. Uh, I did have a compensation claim. I broke my right wrist again while I was working for them, but this is not what this video is about. I worked on the WCB renovation in Richmond, where they took off the top 2 or 3 floors off the building. It was full of mold and everything else. Asbestos and everything else was in the building. Although we weren't told about it, not in my company anyways. We weren't warned about it. Uh, the only thing that I found kind of funny was they didn't want us drilling into the deck, the concrete deck, with our hammer drills during the day. And I couldn't figure this out because right next door to where I was working, they had bobcats up on the concrete deck taking off a whole floor with a great big hammer chisel. So it was noisy as hell anyways, and I couldn't figure out why they didn't want us using hammer drills inside. Well, one day I went to Tim Hortons for lunch and I come back and there's an outfit truck there, an outfit by the name of Envirotech there. Anyways, and I come in and I had been drywalling on a wall I was doing in the back. And there was a young guy sitting a tent up made out of plastic around this one area. And I said, I went over, being the nosy type, I says, what are you doing? Are you setting up a tent for asbestos or what? And he says, no. He says, we've already taken the asbestos out. He says, we're setting up this tent for mold. He says, we've got mold here, the bad kind. Stratobolicus or whatever the hell you call it, the black kind. Anyways, I says, oh, really? I says, why weren't we told about this? And I was immediately angry because I understand the ramifications of safety here. Now we're talking the WCB building here. Due diligence? Can you hear that word, WCB? Due diligence? You like to talk about it a lot. Well, anyways, he told me, he says, oh, Jesus, he says, please don't say anything. He says, I'll get fired. And I says, that's the least of your worries, son. I says, do you know under Bill C-34, I believe it is, C-34, I'm not too sure. But anyways, that you could go to jail if you cause anybody's death or injury or illness due to your negligence, you could go to jail. Well, that kind of made him think a little. And anyways, I went to the superintendent, I forget the guy's name, of PCL. Anyways, they were the ones that had the general contractor. And I told him, I says, what's going on here? How come we weren't warned about the mold? Because I understood now why they didn't want us drilling the concrete during the day. Because it kicks up dust. Therefore, there's mold spores in the air and everybody's breathing it. It was all right if we come in at night and drilled and got infected or made sick with it. Didn't matter to them. They didn't give a shit. So, anyways, I drilled during the day after that. I didn't care. I drilled during the day. But the whole point was they should have warned us and made sure we knew so that we could have been wearing respirators. Now, HEPA filters. Now, under some circumstances, anybody who knows what they're doing, under some circumstances, HEPA filters are no good because the gas that comes off the mold is every bit as bad as the mold itself. And the HEPA filter won't stop the gas. You need a painter's respirator, a proper respirator with air in it to stop the gas. Now, also, I was taking out old tile and putting in new tile. Now, taking out old tile is one of the worst ways to contract mold poisoning. Anyways, and this whole place is full of it. Anyways, but the whole, the funny part about the whole thing is the mold that they took off the wall out of the concrete, all they did They didn't seal it behind the walls. All they did, all they did was kill the mold on the surface of the concrete. Now, if the mold's right in the concrete, all that's going to happen is it's going to grow back behind the walls that we built. In other words, it'll be growing there and living, prospering, and happy times. You know, the people that work at WCB will be having respiratory problems and all this other kind of stuff. And you know, I even feel sorry for them because they're workers, just like everybody else. I mean, they're not the soul of the monster; they're just part of the monster. They do what they're told, or they're not there. We all know that. We're not stupid. But anyways, to make a long story short, about December 2004, I'd been seeing this doctor, Shahada. Not much of a doctor. Crooked as a dog's hind leg, as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, because she lied in my medical report. I had to force her to give me my records, and I did, and I found out why I had to force her, because I had been seeing her about it, and I'd been complaining about having breathing problems through my nose, sinuses, and I never had problems before 2004, and ever since then I can't breathe through my sinuses. Now, she wrote down in her records that I'd been having sinus trouble for over 10 years. This is all just in case I decided to go after WCB, then they could look at her records and say, oh no, look, you were having trouble for 10 years. The woman's a liar. Anyways, I ended up, as the story goes, I wasn't feeling very well, and finally I ended up seeing a Dr. Chang. He's a doctor of immunology, and he sent my records off to the Children's Hospital. Turns out my immune system has been compromised. Now, they said it was genetic, but I never had a problem before at 2004, working at the WCB. I always had lots of energy, even though I'm overweight. I was always energetic and had lots of energy and that. But Christmas of 2004, I started having trouble. Couldn't get out of bed, listless, couldn't remember anything. Would get up, have a cup of coffee, go back to bed and sleep all day and wake up tired and go back to bed again. And then I finally got forced that Sahada into sending me to see this Dr. Chang. Anyways, and he did the test on me, and they found out my immune system has been compromised. Anyways, not laying the blame at anybody's door, and neither am I, but I'm stating the facts as I know them. That was where I worked on the mold, and if you look at what illnesses are causative of mold, you'll find that your immune system is attacked by the mold. There's one of them. There's a whole long list, everything from fibromyalgia to, you know, it's a half a mile long what this stuff causes. It's nasty shit. And WCB doesn't even know it, but I got a paper on a deal that they'd done, a meeting that they had, a little meeting that they had, where they talked about how bad mold is. Well, I got a copy of it. I got the original copy of it. Anyways, so it turns out that I'm on IG for the rest of my life. Every month I've got to go in and get pumped full of hemoglobin. I think it's hemoglobin, long name anyways. All I know is it's a pain, and I have to do it for the rest of my life. This above all my other troubles with WCB. This is what they caused me. People wonder why I'm so venomous when it comes to those people. Because all I ever wanted to do was work. That's all. I didn't want a pension. I didn't want nothing. I wanted to work. Just like John wanted to work. Just like Lauren wanted to work. He's the same breed I am. The same dumbass drywall